Hey guys, we're back. It's Nina.
And Ashley here with the bullshit.
And this is the Young and Getting It podcast.
Turn up.
I'm so excited to be back.
Me too.
We're doing this shit again. And as you guys can hear, we're in crystal clear clarity. You hear that?
It took a while to get here.
You hear that shit?
Every time there's a problem.
Okay. Technical difficulties. But since we're young and getting it, we're young and we got it.
Yep. Young and troubleshooting.
Okay. Troubleshooting like crazy. So, today we're back. We're back with another young hustler.
You could hear our guest a little bit laughing
Yeah.
at us and our
Giggling at us
stupidity.
being
She witnessed
stupid.
it all.
Yeah, we were wilding. We were taking pictures. You guys will see that in our
Ring
posts,
light
our
in
little
full
blog post.
effect.
Yeah, we're lit. We're turned. We got the coffee. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Fuck drugs, guys. Drink coffee. It got a little bit of cocaine in it. I'm just kidding.
Hey, it's a
I'm just playing.
derivative.
It's a derivative. You know, sugar is a derivative of cocaine also.
Oh, that's why they're so addictive.
That's why it's addicting. It's
Makes
cocaine.
sense. Makes sense.
It's drugs.
All right, well, let's get into introducing our guest. We have Miss Amauche with us today.
Hello.
Hey, boo. Looking fab.
Thanks.
So, go ahead and give the audience your background, how you got to where you are today.
So, as I said before, my name is Amauche. Right now, I am working as a medical social worker. Basically, what that means is you are a social worker working in an inpatient or outpatient setting. Mine is inpatient, so I work inside of a hospital. How I got here is I, did the normal high school. Then I went through to undergrad, and then I got my master's. And I am currently working on getting my LCSW, which is
Okay, I was like, what is that? I don't know what that is. You got to explain.
I just know that's something that lets her do more work.
Right? Like, I know my specialty, but that's yours.
I know.
So an LCSW, basically what that is, the long name for it is a licensed clinical social worker.
Okay.
And that essentially opens up,
Okay.
Licensed and shit.
Yeah, I got to take a board exam and everything.
Oh,
It's
shit.
real.
I
It's
just
real.
took one of those. I was so stressed.
Yeah, not excited.
And it's expensive too. So
Yeah,
it's like,
it is.
I better
$700.
pass the first time.
Yeah.
Like,
Right? I was like, there's no way I'm failing.
No.
$700 and I don't get it
Yeah.
back.
no.
And I gotta rake up hours. It's something like 32,000 hours
Girl,
or something
I
like
had
that.
to get hours too.
32,000.
It's
Jesus.
something crazy.
Yeah.
All I know is it boils down to it's gonna take me 2 years just to get my hours. Like 2 years. So we getting there.
Stay committed, boo.
But basically what that does is it essentially opens up more doors for me. It allows me to, if I want, I can open my own private practice.
Okay, we like that.
You know,
We like that.
being my own boss. You
I
feel
like
me?
Right?
I like that.
So it allows things like that. Of course, you get into a whole nother pay grade. But
I really like that.
Let's take a little pause.
That's
real quick.
what it's really
Y'all
been.
heard what she said. we trying to pretend like it ain't about the money.
yeah, but you know what it's about.
Well,
you
bitch,
know.
I'm trying to buy some shoes. Shit, get that hair.
For real.
Trying to get another wig.
No, for
I'm
real.
trying to get it. Make a collection.
Snatched.
Right?
My cousin has a wig collection. I'm getting there.
I'm trying to have heads
lined
just
up at the
lined
top.
up,
Like purses.
heads and then purses and then shoes.
I'm getting there. I'm working on it.
Okay, because as you'll see in this YouTube video, we're in her house because she got her own
Poppin'.
place. 'Cause she
Her
got-
own shit.
Man.
She don't need you to buy nothing for
She
her,
don't need
but
it.
she'll accept it.
I will.
Okay?
Handouts.
Don't need it, but like it.
I'll take it.
Exactly.
All right. Sorry, we cutting you off on stuff.
Yeah, sorry.
We're like, money.
right? Like we heard money. We're like, all right, we like that.
I
Y'all-
mean, hey,
y'all like money,
like,
too.
Why would I be here?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it definitely opens up a whole new pay grade. But it's kind of nice because it's just really the good thing about social work is a lot of people say you can wear multiple hats. And
Yeah.
it's true. You can go into social work and you can go the legal route where, or you can go social work and you can go the governmental route where you're doing like lobbying, like you're doing all
See,
kinds
I
of
didn't
things.
even know that. Like
Yeah.
I thought like social work was always in a hospital or with like people that have custody battles with their kids.
See,
like,
that
Yeah.
was my whole thing. I was fearful of being a social worker because I was not trying to be a baby snatcher. Like,
girl,
just saying.
nah, for real.
said
like
a baby
high
my
key.
heart couldn't do
No,
it.
high key. And so, thankfully, my sister, shout out to Kalechi, she is a social worker too, and she's
okay.
the one who kind of I guess, nudged me in that direction.
Yeah.
And I think it just panned out for the better. But we'll get into details about.
I mean, you can go ahead and explain now. Like, we love
like
hearing
what you want to talk
stories.
about. What you want to
Yeah.
what you want to talk
So
about.
how did you get into social work? Because was it something you always wanted to do, or did you just like have that change of heart after college, like Nina and I? Like,
Yes.
you finish and you're like, yeah, you know what? The route I wanted to take isn't what I wanted to do.
Right.
So in reality, like in college, I kept telling myself I wanted to be an expert witness. So I was doing psych law, and I was learning about both the legal systems as well as psychology.
Okay.
So because I just kind of wanted to be that person who's like able to look into the deeper elements of someone and someone's situation and assess that and come with some evidence-based practices and research about what that means.
Right.
So walking out of college, I was like, you know what? Research is not for me. The statistics failed. Tried it again. Finally made it.
I hate statistics.
I hate it.
Oh my
I
God.
hate statistics. Like,
I think I had dropped it like 3 times. Not with a W. Like I dropped it within like the first 4 days of class, like 2 or 3 times.
I wish I was smart like that
Right,
the first
because
time.
I definitely took it, but I think it was required for my major, so
was
I didn't have a
required.
choice.
Oh,
No,
okay.
yeah.
I had to take it.
It wasn't required for me.
Yeah, because you were psych and I was neuroscience.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys don't know, Amauche and I, we went to the same college.
Oh, yeah.
UCR, our side. And
Highlanders.
for our prereqs, we had to take a lot of math courses, and a lot of my neuroscience courses overlapped with psych courses.
Yeah.
So I would take upper
yeah.
div psych courses during my last years.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
Close relation.
but yeah, so I realized research just wasn't gonna happen for me. So I started researching other routes of how I can essentially be a doctor without having to get my PhD, because all PhD is research.
Yes.
And that dissertation
And
is
there's
now
6 years of research.
And there's
Yeah.
a limited
Fucking
like
half the time.
and the dissertations sound like that would give me a heart attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The stress.
And it's like I
like
think
drilling you.
PhD level jobs are also like limited too. Like
Yeah.
there's not a huge market for
Yeah.
PhD level jobs, because both my boss and one of my teachers was like, yeah, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yeah,
just
the
save
field
your
is
money.
definitely growing, but
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I started doing research, and then I started learning about PsyDs, and I realized that is essentially like a PhD, but more based upon experience as opposed to research.
Yeah.
So I like that because I could get out in the field. And as I started looking at PsyDs, my sister asked me, what do you see yourself doing in the long run? And I told her, that I would like to be the first line of contact for people, whether it's in a hospital or whether it's in a therapeutic setting. I just wanted to be that first initial contact, especially if someone's had like an assault situation or a domestic violence situation. Victims basically was my interest, hence wanting to be an expert witness.
Do you watch a lot of crime shows?
Yes,
Is
I
that
grew
what
up
kinda-
on Law
okay.
and Order, bro. Like,
I'm wondering, what sparked this? Because I used to watch CSI Miami, Las Vegas, all of them. Those
All
are
of
my
those.
shits. First 48 was my shit. And I originally, at some point in my life, I wanted to be a crime scene investigator.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? Like, I don't think
not trying to see dead
yeah,
bodies.
like,
Yeah,
you gotta
exactly.
see people mutilated. You have to smell it. Like, and I already
Mhm.
smell shit in the operating room. Like, and that's already the level that I think I can handle. Anything beyond that, I know I would get used to it, but initially I'm like, just
I'm not trying
Yeah.
to see people. I'm not trying
Yeah.
to see my my mortality every day.
No.
Also,
yeah.
No,
And then
seriously.
when it's like, if it's a situation with kids,
Oh
I
my
just
God.
Yeah.
that would be
I was
terrible.
when I was in undergrad, I even started looking at forensic psychology,
Mhm.
and I was like, that sounds cool, until
My
I
cousin
realized
did
that I
that.
go into like crime scenes, and I was like,
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm just like, it's something that a lot of people don't get to do in their life. Like, not a lot of people get to go
Exactly.
in the operating room.
Yeah.
I've seen people's brains, like,
Ugh.
Yeah.
I've literally seen that.
Yeah.
I've literally seen like spinal cords, everything, all the
Yikes.
nerves. So it's like,
I know. Yikes. I'm like,
to me, I just think about like the adventure in it a little bit, and that's
Yeah.
what like would drive me to do it.
Yeah.
But it's like these people that I see, they're still alive, and we're trying to keep them alive and make sure
Yeah.
they, come out fine.
yeah.
But if you're doing the crime scene part,
It's
it's
they're
like,
dead.
they didn't come
They're
out
dead.
fine.
ooh,
They didn't come out fine.
yeah.
That's all
that because like with that, I'm like, yeah, that'd probably keep me up at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would definitely
For sure.
continue to see that over and over again.
This okay,
Yeah,
real
definitely.
quick like tangent on a tangent, but I was in the operating room last week working, and this guy was talking about this doctor. I'm not gonna say his name, and he was like, "Yeah, that guy, he's a terrible fucking surgeon. He killed like 3 people when I was
Damn.
working with him."
Oh.
Yeah, and I'm just like, fuck.
Damn, he said he
Like,
killed 3 people.
How good is your malpractice insurance?
You know it'd be like genius for a serial killer to go to medical school and become a doctor and then just kill people. But at the same time, you get your license revoked after probably frequent deaths.
Like after about a certain amount, they start investigating.
I mean, there are definitely cases out there of like nurses who have essentially
they killed their patients.
Exactly.
They were serial killers, and they go from like hospital to hospital,
just
killing patients. And they pick
so
the
it's
patients
out there, Nina.
precisely.
Are you fucking serious?
Yes,
it's out there.
Yes, they precisely pick the patients, so it's like, well, nobody will notice. Like, they won't think it's foul play
because like maybe the patient's already on their way out or something like that, and they just expedite the process.
Yep.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I've seen
that's
like,
so ridiculous.
That is so fucking crazy.
What?
Have you seen anything crazy at your job? What's like one of the craziest experience you have? Because I know you deal with psych patients that are like crazy? Like what type of patients do you deal with?
Thankfully, I don't yet.
Okay.
So I may like have to do an assessment with people who are having psychosis or something like that. I may do an initial assessment, but my hospital has a behavioral health unit, so and then, or if not, if I'm at the other hospital, then they have a whole pet team. So I just kind of come in and just check what like demographics and what you have at home, and then afterwards I'm like, all right, a therapist will be in to see you shortly.
Like,
nah, son. And I mean, I definitely took I forgot the name of the class, but I took a class basically about severe mental health issues, and it intrigued me, but just personally, I don't think I have enough knowledge yet to divulge into trying to help somebody. And so thankfully nobody's pushed me in that yet, because I have a lot to learn.
You'd be freaking out. Oh my God, what do I do?
Exactly. I think just the thought has me stuttering.
Nurse, come here, help me.
Exactly.
Get your gums in there, like holding your neck.
The nurses aren't gonna help. They are waiting for you to figure it out.
They're like, go
you
in
got
there.
this.
Go in there.
I know, exactly.
Do you have a lot of black people at your hospital or no?
Yeah. Or are you like one of the 2 black people? There's like 5 people that are black.
Yeah. See, if I go to the main campus, then I am one of 2 black social workers.
Sounds about right.
Now, if I'm at my campus, I am the only black social worker.
Even better.
In fact, I mean, there are black nurses, but like I don't see many black people. Like I can probably count it on one hand.
Yeah. So how do you feel about
do you think there's a difference in how you get treated? Like,
I mean, but you probably wouldn't know because you've only been at you've just been at that hospital, right?
I've been at those 2 hospitals.
Those 2 hospitals.
For how long though?
Probably about 2 years now.
Yeah, and it's in a white populated area, so it's like harder to run into like black people.
I mean, you get every once in a while you get that token person who it's a racial thing. But for the most part, people are surprised when I walk in, and not surprised as in negatively, but they're just like, they want to know so much. Like, what do you do? What did you study? Oh my gosh, you have your master's. How old are you?
You look so young. It's like, black don't crack, baby. Okay?
Exactly. And then as soon as I tell them, they're like, wait, so what is a social worker in a hospital? Next thing I know, I went from a 5-minute conversation to a 20-minute one, because now they just want to know about my life.
Are you supposed to keep the conversation short? I know like doctors are taught to keep their interactions short with their patient, like when they're seeing them in the office, just for the sake of being able to see more patients in a day. Do you is there an average time you're supposed to spend with an individual?
I mean, I wouldn't say that when I was training that they told me an average time, but yeah, ideally you want to keep it short. I would say if I gauge it, most of my conversations go maybe 7 to 10 minutes, and 10 minutes is kind of pushing it. Usually it's like 7 minutes. So a lot of times my length of conversation will depend on what your diagnosis is, how many needs I think you'll have, and how many patients I have on the floor. Okay. Because the campus that I mainly stay at, that fluctuates. I can come in one day and there's 28 patients, and I can come in another day and there's 8.
Jesus.
So if I have 8, I will take the time to make sure those 8 are completely set up. And then of course, if I have 28, it's about prioritizing. If I know you're going to go home with no needs, then there's not that much for us to discuss. Of course, I'll still check with the physician to make sure everything's fine. But if you're coming in and you have all these comorbidities, then I'm going to have to dedicate that time.
Okay, explain what comorbidity is, because some people out there don't know.
As in me.
I'm like, I know what it is. Like a comorbid diagnosis or condition. Like, so if you have diabetes, not hypertension. But you can explain it better because you work with it. Well, like in the mental health field, how does that play into the
diagnosis?
So it plays in a lot. Like I had one patient who he had so many comorbidities. my documentation had to be impeccable. And so basically in the mental health field, a lot of times when you have comorbidities, you have something like chronic pain, and then you also have something like psychosis, bipolar disorder, whatever the case is, and then you might even have substance abuse on top of that. And then sometimes you even have a patient who's homeless on top of all of that. And then if you really have a sticky situation, they won't have insurance.
Oh yeah, my surgeons always ask me, what insurance does the patient have? Yeah. They hate hearing IEHP. I'm gonna just put that out there right now. Yeah. They hate hearing IEHP.
Sorry for those who have IEHP. We're not judging you.
We're not, but in the financial realm of medicine, because medicine is a business.
Yes,
it is. They do not like that form of insurance
because they don't make no money off of it.
Yes, they do not get a lot of compensation.
Yeah. So. Well.
Unfortunately.
Fuck them. They're rich.
Right?
Anyway, so
they don't have to worry about this shit.
Like,
and they're like doctors. They're like, I could diagnose my fucking self.
Right. And it's like if they want to self-medicate, they'll self-medicate. Yeah. So now there's always been this big discussion, even amongst the people that we've talked to before we launched this podcast, about mental health in the Black community, and how, I mean, from my experience, I've just noticed that like Black people don't really embrace therapy as much as white culture has already embraced it, even though obviously not all white people are going to therapy, but it's like it's taking a while for Black people to be like, having a therapist doesn't mean you're crazy. Having a therapist just means you want to work things out, basically.
Get better.
Yeah, and you need help because you don't know everything about how the mind works. So how do you feel about the way mental health is treated in the Black community?
I mean, I think the way the mental health is treated in the Black community is a little skewed. My personal opinion, I think a lot of times, like mental health, when it comes to the Black community, it's misunderstood. You know, someone's emotions can come off as aggressive, and I hate that term. Like I
get that a lot. I get that word.
Yeah, I hate.
Yeah, I'm always told I'm aggressive.
No, and I feel like it. You know, again, personal opinion. I feel like the word aggressive is so commonly used towards Black people, when in reality, what it is it's assertiveness. Yeah, a lot of people mistake Black people's assertiveness with aggression because they're intimidated. Your intimidation does not mean I'm being aggressive.
Right. Exactly. Hello.
No.
I get told that at work too, but it's like in the operating room you kind of have to.
Of course.
I behave differently there, and like emotional cues, visual cues, like everything is different there because you have a mask on, so a lot of stuff is seen through the eyes and like the motions of your body. And I just noticed that like I'm more like rigid in the operating room, and like if it's either yes or no, I don't say nah, yes, maybe, kind of, you know, like it's either a definitive yes or a definitive no. And I know like sometimes when I do that, I just feel people like, why are you like that? And it's like, well, this is a person, like I have to make sure that I'm being, you know what I mean. I do not want you to misunderstand what I mean. And then sometimes like I'll answer and it's like matter of fact, and they're like, whoa, calm down. And I'm like, you guys,
you're like, I'm just being clear.
And we're women, so if you think about it, if it was a white man saying it, it would just be a white man saying it. Since we're women, it's like, oh, she's supposed to be docile, but she's being assertive, plus she's Black, so let me add some anger on top of it. She's being aggressive.
And like, why are you talking back to the surgeon? No, he understood something wrong, and so I'm explaining to him like how it's supposed to be, and like
for
how
the sake of the patient's life.
I can't let you lead on a lie because you want to be right, and because people fucking bow at you. I am not that individual.
That actually reminds me of something, because I've been telling Ashley about that, how I'm sure you know the stereotype of how Black people are like angry. And it's like it's so common that I sometimes think it's some sort of like mental health issue. Like you people, like my dad says, like people just say the man is keeping them down, and it's like that's where the anger is coming from. And it's like, I mean, you're kind of keeping yourself
like
down.
You're not trying, you're not shooting your shot, you're quitting before you even try when you say things like, oh yeah, the man is holding me back. Fuck the man. Get out there, do what you need to do to get what you want. Like, and a lot of people, I feel like, think things are easy, so they don't they don't put the effort into things.
And that's not to say that we aren't given a shorter stick. We definitely are. But at the same time, everybody's got to work for it. Like, and you may not have the head start, but you could definitely reach the finish line first. You could definitely get there first. I mean, it's just a matter about your determination, your motivation, and of course your mental health, because that's what we're talking about. Because
I even remember, and probably at the times where I was like at my lowest, like I was not functioning.
Oh,
like,
nigga.
I was not doing
laying
shit.
in bed
No.
knowing
I
I
was just
need to
laying there
study.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
You're like,
this is sad.
I'm sad.
You're really laying down like,
no, it's true.
I know I need to get up, but your body physically won't.
You can't. You can't.
I just want to smoke.
No, you.
And
lay here.
I wanted to ask, how do you feel like substance abuse plays into mental health in the African American community?
I mean, I think it plays in a lot because I think, I think our community, we're so used to this sense of, I mean, we do have a sense of community, and I think that's how it gets masked. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Because a lot of times you can find opportunities to drink. You can find opportunities to use drugs, and you can use those opportunities as your scapegoat. Yeah. Because you can sit there and say, hey man, like I'm pissed as hell, or I'm depressed, or I'm whatever. I just want to hit the club. Let me call some of my homies. And that's your excuse. Well, I got drunk because I went out. Well, how many times a week are you going out?
Yeah.
Right.
How
often? Yeah. And how much are you drinking each time? Like, and that's a lot of times a question I ask patients, whether white, black, Hispanic, Asian, it doesn't matter. When I read on their chart, history of alcohol abuse, I ask them, my first question is, do you have a history of substance abuse? Or not even substance. I say, do you have a history with drugs or alcohol? And if they say yes, alcohol, I say, do you think it's problematic? If they say no, I say, okay, how many drinks would you say you have in a week?
Is this that chart that you guys do on patients? It has an acronym, and I forget what it was called. I saw it in like a patient's H&P one time. And it asked, do you ever drink to cure a hangover or just to get right in the morning? And it's like a series of questions to determine if you're alcoholic or not.
Yeah.
I've seen those charts. We personally don't use those. It's kind of just like our own personal investigation. But I've seen those charts. Like, for example, at one point, disclaimer, I did therapy. And so every day that I went into the psychologist's office, well, she was an MFT, but every single time I went into the MFT's office, I did have to do a chart like that.
What does MFT stand for?
MFT is a marriage and family therapist.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they basically know similar.
Yeah, they can do therapy too. Yeah. I think she was licensed. I don't know what the official license is, but they have to also take a board exam.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, so, they wouldn't be certified for stuff like that.
Yeah. So every single time I walked into her office, they had that same type of chart. Like, do you drink? How many drinks would you say you have a day? How do you use your alcohol essentially?
Yeah.
I'm like, alcohol is nasty, man. Y'all are strong. Like, that y'all can drink to feel better. But that's why
their stomachs are messed up. They get secondary symptoms. Like, you'll get the redness right here. If you've been an alcoholic for a long time, you could get jaundice.
I know someone.
Yeah.
Remember
pancreatic cancer.
Remember I be telling you, I know someone who literally drinks every single day.
The relationship
for the past like 6-7 months.
Yeah.
On Snapchat, there's a drink every
something
single
is coming their way.
Day.
Hopefully they get help.
They've a problem. They've had
before.
A major health issue,
had a problem
major
before.
health scare, and they're still drinking. And I'm just like,
that's when you know that it's a problem.
It is a disease. Like,
it definitely
really is. I
like,
used to be that person who's like, alcohol's not a disease. You can fix it if you want to. But after being like in the hospitals and seeing people like in tears, like with motivation to get better, and then you still see them the next month, like it is a real struggle. It's crazy. Wow. It's unfortunate.
Alcohol is lit. Sorry.
That's
no.
I looked at you so sideways.
No. I was just like, Nina, you can't bear that.
Did you hear how fast I said sorry?
And I like gave you such an unintentional side eye. I was like,
what the hell? I said alcohol is lit. Sorry.
I checked that so quick. Like,
sorry.
No.
Oh, that
you can't have that paired with this conversation.
Sorry, y'all. Sorry.
That was funny. My stomach hurts. That was funny.
God,
sorry.
Nina.
Sorry. Dun-dun-dun.
It's Nina's trash right now. She's just took that way into left field.
That's me, guys. But yeah, back to whatever we were talking about. Sorry,
I can't even remember now because you fucked it up.
Do you think you can someone can have a dual diagnosis of mental health and like a lot of weed smoking?
Yeah, I believe that because everybody functions differently under weed. We witnessed it. Like, we've had some friends that they started smoking weed and everything went out the window. Like, their whole life was different after they started smoking weed. And
I smoke weed and I get an A.
Right? Like, it was literally like a downhill thing. And it was because they didn't know how to prioritize smoking weed and going to class and just living life. Like, you can't let a substance become your life. And I feel like that's like one of the main problems with getting it legalized, because there's this certain set of people that don't know how to handle it.
Yeah. And then there's cancer patients.
Yeah, that need it.
I work at a cancer research hospital, and they did not drug test me. And I was like, maybe it's because some of the patients are having to use weed candies or whatever, weed tea, just to feel better from the nausea from all the chemo.
Exactly.
And so it's like, there's the people who function really well, and there's people who function really well, and then there's people who like need it for cancer, and then there's people who are just burnouts. Because I can be honest, I remember like maybe my 3rd year of college, like literally wax dabbing at 6 a.m. in the morning, which everyone knows it's like next to crack.
Jesus. Like that one meme that I sent you. If you're smoking more than one blunt to get high, you're either smoking bullshit or your body's ready for crack. Yeah, that shit killed me. Yeah, I died when I read that shit.
I'm like, so it's like next to crack, and then I would just go to physiology class and be like, oh yeah, oh my god, yes, that does that, and just writing crazy.
Oh my god,
Nigga, I did so good in that class.
I have never had that experience, like smoking a wax dab.
Disclaimer, this does not mean to smoke blunts and wax before class.
That's a necessary disclaimer.
People who know me knows my mind races, so weed actually slows me down to where I can focus.
When she texts me and she has questions,
my mind
I'll be looking at my phone like
yesterday I sent you like 6 text messages. You sent me one. I was like, okay, I got 5 more questions.
Right?
I got 5 more.
I was so fucking annoyed.
And the funny thing is, like, as I'm sending all these questions, I'm just laying in bed like,
I bet we can hear you.
Like, that's me tapping.
And I'm just sitting there like, if she don't fucking stop, I'm like trying to focus on something.
We're super tangent.
Hey guys, interrupting the show very briefly to give a Black business shout. A few weeks ago, we brought to you luxury do-rags. This week, we bring you bonnets. So these bonnets come from isokenenofe, or Pinsky's Closet as it was formerly known. And these bonnets are so beautiful. They have anakara bonnets, and they have so many other things on their site, and by they I mean isokenenofe. So she is the influencer behind the brand, and she is also on YouTube. You can find her on Instagram, and just support her brand if you can. The bonnets are beautiful. There's bags, there's accessories, there's fabrics that she sells. There's so many things that are offered on her site, and her website is isokenenofe.com. On Instagram, you can also find her and her brand at isokenenofe, and that is her username on Instagram. So you guys check it out if you can, and thank you so much for listening. Back to our regularly scheduled program.
Okay, so what do you think needs to change to make Black people acknowledge? Sorry, we guys were. I'm just gonna bounce back from that tangent.
Full circle,
because we can talk shit for a while.
Yeah.
So what do you think like the Black community needs to do to kind of start facing mental health issues? Because I personally feel like if we start facing it, a lot of the issues going on in the Black community won't be happening as frequently. Trump might not have been president. Like things could have been functioning better.
Black people. Okay, I feel like this is something that I don't agree with. It's kind of tangenty, kind of not.
Yeah.
Is that if you go to jail and you have a felony, you can't vote. I feel like that is fucked up.
Yeah, but they can after a while or something, because I know some people who have felonies who can vote.
But it's still like you're basically telling them they're not human anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And like I feel like that's that whole 3/4 human bullshit.
Yeah, that slave shit.
Yeah. So it's like the system.
It's kind of
didn't work. It may or may not have worked in their favor depending on what they did, because some of these motherfuckers is vile and they deserve to get the felony.
Yeah,
but it's like the system might have failed them, and now they don't have the right to vote on a system that already did them injustice, and they know this personally firsthand through experience. And then you take that from them.
Yeah.
And it's like it could have been like one of those situations when you're in the car with the homie, he has a gun, you didn't know.
That does happen.
That happens.
Y'all both you're equally in trouble.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah.
And
unless you snitch.
Yeah. Right. But it's like
still
in
might
that
not work
situation,
for you.
I don't know how you snitch. Like when he's like, oh yeah,
Still
I knew
don't
he
work
had
for you.
that shit. If you knew he had that shit and you didn't tell,
and
it's like linked to a fucking murder. You're a murderer.
Ooh, yeah.
You're a murderer
You're
now.
considered a murderer.
Yeah. So it's like that's kind of fucked up that you can't vote on a system to like
and
change
mind you, when you go to prison, like people need to open their fucking eyes how shitty the prison system.
They
like,
don't give a fuck about
that
y'all.
causes mental health issues in
Of
itself.
course.
You think it's associated with like PTSD most likely when they get out of prison?
Yeah.
Or
that's my personal opinion. I mean, it could be a multitude of things. It could be depending on who you are in the prison, you know, because it could be a sense. You could be exactly. That's what I was gonna say. It could be a sense of gang mentality, you know, or if you were just a person just trying to fly under the radar, it could definitely be a sense of PTSD. Because even if let's say nothing even happened to you, nobody touched you, no one got physical with you, no one got aggressive with you, you still have people coming in and out who may be treating you sideways,
making you get anxious.
And it's this sense of, I also think that within the prison system, unless you have a strong mind, you come out with a sense of helplessness. Like it's learned helplessness, because they've literally sat there. No,
I'm thinking of that show, what was it called? It was on HBO, and it was like about the guy that went to jail for he like blacked out and woke up, and the girl was dead that he had spent the night with.
Oh shit.
And so he panicked, ran out the house, took the fucking knife. So he went to jail, and like he had this long trial, and he was like this young ass boy. He started slinging drugs in jail. He's got tattoos. Like he started like fucking his lawyer after his lawyer got fired. Wow. Like he was wilding. He was smuggling drugs and shit into the prison. And like he finally got off because he kept saying like, I can't remember, I don't know what happened, we took drugs, I blacked out, I woke up, she was dead, I don't know what happened. There was another guy, he was like a suspect, pure point blank, he probably did this shit to kill her, right? And they put him in, the other guy in jail, his name was like Nasir, and he gets out of jail, he's a crack addict now. He has depression, it seems like, because he's like probably stressed about this girl, like because he liked her, didn't know what happened to her or how she died, but she's dead now. So it's like there's definitely mental health issues associated with getting out of prison. And I really just thought about the show. I need to look it up because I need to know what it's called.
We're gonna find that.
No, I think it's definitely true. I don't think anybody, not anybody, but I think it would be very difficult to go into such a like strict and constricted environment such as a prison system, even though obviously there's leeway because people can get away with doing things like smuggling drugs, but there's still this sense of, there's a study, if only I can remember the study, there was even a study where they took regular students, had some of them as police officers, had some of them as prisoners.
In college.
What's that? Exactly. Something experiment.
The Stanford experiment?
Stanford experiment.
Yeah. And even that shows, because that was a fake jail system.
Yeah.
Everybody knew coming in this was not real life.
Yeah.
And they still were treating, like they still came to this certain mentality.
Yeah. They were evil
power,
as fuck.
Exactly. A power hierarchy. And after that, everybody needed therapy.
Yeah.
Like,
and
if that's a situation you're walking into knowing that it's fake, can you imagine if you're walking in knowing that it's real?
And it's like, even going back, like, because a lot of the things that affect the Black community today came from slavery. And I know that white slave masters or slave owners used to separate, like they broke down the Black family because they were trying to break us down and make us feel weak so that they can continue to control us. So they actually separated the dads from the families so that they didn't have that structure. They didn't have that 2-parent household. And I think it's basic. And imagine how bad the mental health problems were with Black people back in the slavery days or the generation after the slavery days. It's like, I think it's just a trickle down to where that's why there's men now leaving their kids, because that's what their dad did and that dad did, and that because some dads ago they were forced out of the family, and then they don't see the importance of being there because their dad wasn't there. So I think it's like, it's definitely like, I feel like white people are like, you guys always blame everything on slavery. Like, no, you guys
it's just not that far away. Isn't Ruby Bridges like only 70?
Yeah, they're still like
so 62 years ago is when she attended the first integrated school. I just saw this article
that's
online.
recent, you guys.
Listen, at the end of the day, I'm gonna keep blaming things on slavery until we stop having people like the KKK and Confederates waving their flags. When that stops, y'all can hear me stop.
People stop being racist.
Until then, I'm not stopping.
Do you think,
say it again for the people in the back?
I know, right? Do you think that, like, I kind of feel that also, that slavery stuff is tied into like Black relationships too, because you see what I see, and I'm sure everyone else sees it. You see mostly black men venturing out to other races, because back in the slavery days they had to work the hardest because they were black men. Plus they couldn't fuck the slave owner's wife, even though some of them were fucking the slave owner's
she
wife,
liked it.
and they were having those mulatto babies back then. It's like, I feel like that also ties into black relationships, to where black men sometimes feel like to be at a higher status they have to be with a non-black. Don't be with the slave colored woman. No, exactly. Be with the free looking
honestly
women.
Or a
mixed chick.
It's slave mentality. That's all it is, because it's this situation of the house nigga versus the field nigga. And so if you see, you know, a lot of, at least within the black community, that's why a lot of dark-skinned women get upset, because they're like, are you dating these other races just because you like them?
Or do you
but
want
if you're
mixed
saying
kids?
something, if you're saying something like, I want mixed kids, I want long hair, don't care, I want light skin,
guys
all that is
ignorant shit.
All that is slave mentality. Like, that's all it is. Because if you're dark skinned and I'm looking at you, your mama's dark skinned. Let's be real.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's be
How
real.
You gonna talk about, I need my girl to be light skinned? Is your mama light skinned, nigga? What you trying to say?
One of your parents is dark.
Listen, and this is the thing that gets me the most. If I know you, and if I know your mama's dark skinned, and I hear you ripping to shreds other dark skinned women, I'm gonna look at you and say, you talking shit about your own mother. You're talking about your own mother. That's all you're doing.
That's self-hate. I think it's self-hate.
It is self-hate.
They look at their skin and they're like, I'm as dark as
it is self-hate.
The other girls out
but
there.
You know what? It's
lighter.
Evolved even more than that, because now we live in a generation where dark skin is in. And we live in a generation where every race wants every race wants a dark skinned man. So it's not a matter of most cases are a matter of self hate anymore. What it is it's they have the pick of the crop. They get to decide. And at the end of the day, let's be real. Most black men know that their black woman will always be down for them. So if they want to run around, and if they want to play games, and if they want to holla at this, that, and the other, and the third, and nothing works out, then they know they can still turn around and head home.
For a black woman.
Back game.
And I've heard that from a black man's voice himself.
Jesus.
So I know this.
Do you still talk to that nigga? You need to block his number.
No, he was more so providing knowledge and information.
Oh, okay.
So I respected that. I was like, let me know.
Ashley stayed telling me to block somebody.
You need my block game is strong.
She showed me her block list. That shit was long.
My shit's long as fuck. I don't care.
You need to block him. You
pissed me off like 2 times.
I'm gonna block you. Dang.
My life is so smooth. My life is smooth. So I got enough bullshit to deal with besides your dumb ass.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
It's like, I kind of feel like, okay, also there's a lot of like, we went through being young and dark skinned. Now we're older, and so now we're like, I'm fine as hell. But it's like, we went through being young, and it's like, it's for people who are younger who are listening to this, you shouldn't be under the age of 18 listening to this. But for those who are under the age of 18 or even 18, because 18 is still pretty young, we're still young. That's why we call this young and getting it. Some people think 25 is old. It's not. It's not.
My shit barely together.
I'm young as shit.
Barely.
Okay, my eggs popping, like ovaries ain't dried up yet. So it's like, it's like, but I just feel like there's a lot of people who, like, especially being dark skinned, they're still in the face of like, oh, this guy doesn't like me, and oh my god, these guys don't like me. You guys, fuck him. You know why? Fuck him. Because maybe from my personal experience, it's like, the more people who like doubt you, the better you're gonna be. So just let these
say it again.
The more people who doubt you, the better you're going to be, because that doubt is a motivation. Please don't take that doubt and be like, well, I ain't shit. So
don't ever believe some bullshit.
When someone tells you ain't shit, then be shit.
Exactly.
And then because they're so busy
telling Cardi B,
they're so busy, right? They're so busy telling you ain't shit that they ain't shit. So then when you're shit, people are looking at me like, oh, I didn't think you were gonna turn out like that. Let me just throw motherfucking money in your face, bitch.
Right? That's what the fuck I'm gonna do. Why do you have the time?
It's the devil
to tell me I'm not shit.
For those that aren't religious,
for
people who aren't religious, it's negative energy. But for people who are, that's fucking devil. The devil works through people to try to bring negativity. It's on like, other
and
people.
if you're African, like me and Nina here, then you know the catchphrase is the devil is a lie.
The devil, the devil is a lie.
That's what every African I've known, anytime they hear something false, they say the devil is a lie.
The devil is a lie. It's like, when you grow up and you grow up to be like a beautiful dark skinned woman, because for every dark skinned woman, you're going to grow up to be a beautiful dark skinned, because we're dark skinned. That's why.
Erase that shit.
You kind of learn to like, my philosophy is, you shouldn't even like somebody that doesn't like you. Cool. Nope. You could think he's cute. You could be like, oh, he's cute, whatever. This nigga doesn't like you. He ain't shit.
Exactly.
But if his personality is trash, he probably ugly anyway.
I know, if his personality is trash, he could be
fine as fuck, but if your personality is trash
and looks fade, let's be real.
And these niggas is lazy. They're gonna be fat later. So don't be sitting here sweating.
You right.
The ones who have all those standards about what a woman should look like. She should do this. She should do that. Is a no shit ass nigga.
Yeah.
Someone who's gonna sit on your couch for forever.
Yeah.
Don't
even fuck with me.
Appreciate the guy who actually appreciates you because he's seeing through all of the bullshit. You should appreciate those. The ones who don't like you shouldn't be sad about that shit. Let the hoes have them.
And speaking from experience, honestly, since we're trying to come from a place of, you know, providing confidence for young women, it's honestly, it's like so pivotal. No matter whether you're dark skin, light skin, whatever, it's so pivotal that you find things to appreciate about yourself. Because I didn't learn this until later in life. And it's funny because even though I live in a primarily white community, and as I said before, I am like the only black social worker, definitely the only black person on my floor. Unless some nurses float in. Then I learned being at that hospital actually made me appreciate myself more. I used to get made fun of for my skin, my name, my hair, everything up under the sun. When a sister says she had self-confidence issues, I am not joking. I showed up at my hospital. Granted, I have a new sense of self by myself on my own already. But coming in and telling people, you know, hi, I'm Amauche. I'm your case manager. I basically help coordinate things as the medical plans unfold in terms of your discharge. What's your name again? Amauche. And I'm bracing myself for the negativity. Amauche? That's such a beautiful name. It sounds French. It sounds Italian. And I'm like, holy shit, my name is beautiful.
French is
okay. All right. And then I find myself, now this is probably my corny self, but anyways, I find myself trying to play along. I'm like, well, Nigeria is next to Cameroon. And Cameroon, they speak French. So maybe, maybe somewhere
derived from my ancestors.
Exactly.
And it means God something.
It means who knows God's will.
Okay.
So, you know. So, and then, you know, hearing people, I walk in and before I can even open my mouth, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. Look at you, your skin. And I'm sitting here like, oh, let me look at my skin.
What you mean? Did I do today?
What you mean?
Is it because I got the Fenty on today?
I know, right?
Is it the Fenty Beauty?
I think it's the Fenty.
It might be the Fenty. Rihanna out here booming.
Seriously.
Maybe it's me. Maybe it's the Fenty. Like, I'll give her a whole new look.
Okay, exactly. But that's that. And, you know, I feel like any black person can side with the fact that we may get made fun of as kids, but it seems like at some point in our life all that shit changes and all of a sudden everybody loves us and all of a sudden nobody has negative things to say. So if you just bear in mind that is just down the road, my friend,
just a period.
I feel like it's them being fake. Like when they're younger, they want to be you.
They want to shoot you down.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I think
make you feel less than them because they realize you're better.
Especially for Nigerian kids, like I feel like our parents put homework so like pivotal. So it's like we had good grades. Like we always had good grades. We were always smart. Like we never doubted that. And it's like people really hate on you for being smart. It's like
they do.
But the thing is, like, especially for those who haven't gotten to the point to where they're working and making a whole bunch of money and you're still in school and you're still struggling, you're still broke. First of all, we were all broke at one point.
Yep.
Like I said,
not too long ago.
Like I said on that,
just found my way.
Okay, like it's very recent. Like you're looking at these people and their parents are buying all their shit for them, so they think they're better than you. But then you turn around and when it's time for everyone to live on their own, you have your own shit. They don't have shit. Now they're trying to be cool with you. Women, listen to me. All, especially dark skinned women, especially women who have gone through bullying. Listen to me. You're going to be better than them.
Yeah,
like you will. Like that's it.
Hang tight,
period.
Sister, hang
I
tight.
mean, yes, that's why we want to tie mental health with it, because it's like you do need to take care of your mental health, because mental health will make you crash.
Because it would get in the way of everything.
Yeah. It will. And there are so many different outlets for it. I mean, speaking from someone who got made fun of in and out, day in, day out, and my own personal mental health was an issue, hence why I wanted to work with victims.
Yeah.
It's so necessary because I mean, let's be real. Let's just be really real, because that's the point of this podcast.
It's exactly the point.
I reached a point in 8th grade, I wanted to kill myself.
Right.
You know, and if I think back now and I'm like, man, if I had went through with that, I would not be here doing what I'm doing now.
Yes.
I would not be here now living in my own place, living in
mocha chip.
With my little mocha chip. That's my puppy. I have a puppy.
We're gonna take
Mocha.
a picture of her and put her. We're gonna put her on the post because she cute as shit.
Yeah, she's really cute.
But mind you guys, Amauche's 26.
Yes.
She's 26
and popping.
26.
Yeah.
We're in her house.
Yeah.
You're like, say it again.
we're in her house.
So, but that's my whole thing. Like, I think back and I'm like, I'm just glad that, as much as I hated it, and I realized that not everybody has this, but my mom would force me into the library. Like, I would literally, granted, I know now my mom was taking us to the library so she could study because she was trying to get herself up.
Yeah.
But, you know, I just didn't want to go. So I would literally wander the library, just doing whatever until she was ready to go. And I happened to stumble across a poetry book. And from that day forward, I was writing poetry. And it, to this day, is still my outlet.
Yeah.
And so I find myself overwhelmed writing down poems.
Yeah.
And if I personally believe if it wasn't for those poems, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Yeah. It's
so,
like some sort of outlet, like people who journal and they say like
that's
journal.
what I do.
People who dance.
Yeah.
Like, my outlet is smoking weed.
Oh God. I like going to the gym.
I mean,
the gym is great.
I mean,
I think your outlet is dancing too. Let's be honest.
My outlet is definitely dancing, and
I like drawing, smoking. But it's like I never have the time for like
standard.
Woo! Oh my God.
Cannot stand it.
When I texted you last night, I was like, "Oh, Nina, can I call you? It's like something important. Like, let me call you." And she's like, "Yeah, I'm rolling a blunt." I was like,
"Yeah, I ain't doing shit. I'm rolling a blunt. I'm on the cell phone." Man, we good, man. I promise I'm doing my homework, y'all. We out here.
She out here successful.
I'm when I graduate, y'all, I'm gonna post on the Yagi, the Youngin Getting It podcast, YAGI_podcast, Yagi podcast. I'm gonna post my diploma in a blunt.
Oh God.
And I'm gonna be like, yee. I'm just gonna, like those litty ass faces. You can do it. Just don't become a drug addict.
Prioritize that shit.
Prioritize.
Because and like if my freshman year of college, I don't know how I survived.
I definitely blew my brains out smoking with Ashley.
I can't do that. I can't do that
definitely
anymore.
was like hallucinating.
I was not your normal undergrad freshman.
You did not
like,
smoke.
I was crazy.
Like undergrad in high school, like I mean,
my school was also like 2.4% white, black. I mean, so all my blackness was at y'all school,
and we would come to Fullerton on the weekends and get drunk.
Yeah, we would get real drunk.
Underage drinking too.
Oh yeah, we were not. Remember legal. Bacardi Gold, Jesus?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, how were you drinking that? Oh, I forgot to bring my Patron. We could have been drinking. It's all right though, but I know we're super
we went on a tangent, but
so how about we like wrap it up, but we all wrap up like our point when it comes to this discussion of like mental health and taking care of yourself and black relationships, black love and friendships, not just like relationships. How would you want to wrap up, or the theme that you want to give to the audience that is listening today?
The most important advice you could give for what you feel passionate about.
For the millennial community trying to become successful.
I think first and foremost, if I address the black health aspect or the mental health aspect of things, I think it's very important, especially among the black community. If you find, and I'm learning this myself, like this is something I literally just came to within the past like 3 weeks. If you find yourself in a situation with someone who may be depicting emotions of frustration, anger, if they're being a little volatile, whatever the case is, don't just automatically assume that they're just an angry person. Don't take it personal. Don't make it about you and about the disrespect and about this, that, and the third. Don't do that. Take a second and open that door of communication. Say, hey, bro, like, okay? How are you doing? Like, are you good? Because what I'm hearing is, I'm hearing your anger. What I'm hearing is I'm hearing you raise your voice at me. And what I'm hearing is like something ain't right. And I want to know, like, is this really about me? Or do you have something else going on that I need to be aware of? Like, is your family good? Mm-hmm. Are your friends good? Are you good?
Be a good friend.
Are
basically.
you happy?
Be a good person.
Because I think within the black community, I think even though we are a community, there is this sense of self. Mm-hmm. And I think there is this sense of you ain't gonna disrespect me, bro.
Yeah.
And I think with that, we oftentimes miss the opportunity for actual real discussions.
Right.
And like I said, that's something I've just come to in the past couple of weeks.
And I just one last quick question. Mm-hmm. So when you're mentioning if you're feeling the aggression and just somebody seeming volatile, are those symptomatic of certain mental health disorders?
Sometimes, I mean, definitely can be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I think at that point, it depends on how recurrent is this issue, and does it have a pattern? Does it seem like their extreme lows or angers or volatile moments are followed by extreme highs? Because then we might be talking about manic episodes.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That was my first thought. I was like, I remember that from school.
Yeah, exactly. So it just depends. Does it seem situational or does it seem chronic? Okay. That's the real distinction. If you see that this is happening over and over again, then you might start to think, okay, this is a chronic situation. What is it linked to?
Yeah.
But if it seems to be surrounded by natural life events, then it may just be poor coping mechanisms.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. And like, I mean, we're going to be doing this podcast for a while. So you'll hear me talk about, you know, when it comes to like bullying is something that's really important to me because that's life and death in a lot of circumstances.
Yep, exactly.
And it's like every single person that I know that's been bullied, including me, has contemplated suicide.
Yep.
So that's something real. And also it's like just being a Black woman in society, that's also important to me, just because like we're not, like me and Amauche are Nigerian American. So not only do we have to learn how to be a Black woman, we had to learn how to be Black.
Yeah.
Before even learning how to be a Black woman.
Exactly.
And
being Black was definitely learned.
And you know, it's learned because there's some traits about, unfortunately, there's traits about Black people that we didn't want. And so it's like we're here to kind of like help the community. So basically it's like, yeah, we're going to talk about things that are kind of like negative,
uncomfortable
uncomfortable, negative, when you know, and it's hard to say something about your own community like, okay, we're angry people, but I feel like a lot of that anger comes from what's been just brought down from generation to generation, and people
we're in a constant state of self-defense.
It's like
it's a constant imbalance of how we're treated in comparison to other races,
other people.
Exactly.
In the workplace, just going out to buy something, in every freaking walk of life.
And that's why it's important, which I meant to touch on, that's why it's important, especially even if you're not in the Black community, like it's important to self-care, because at the end of the day, like we already have enough gunning for us, like we don't need any more than we already have. So find your safe space, whether it's your room, your living room, your own apartment, the gym
with your friends,
you know, art classes with your
driving,
friends, whatever
it is.
Exactly, whatever that is, find a level of self-care and have 2 levels of self-care. If you know your primary level of self-care is your friends, you need to build a second, because let's be real,
they're
not
always going to be there.
Exactly. They have their own lives too. And you can't be mad at them for prioritizing their own life, because you should be prioritizing yours
your own
too.
life.
So have something that may be done as a group and have something that may be done individually, because at the end of the day, you need to have a fallback. Everything needs to have a fallback.
And it's like you should be in that mentality of, if you have time to think about what you should be doing, you have enough time to be doing it.
Exactly.
So it's like,
I always snap out of Instagram when I have that thought. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, and in this
why am I still laying in bed?
In this social media era, it's like there's studies that are actually like probably are going to come out more over the years. It's like having your cell phone and having all this media so close to us is actually changing the way that we learn, the way we think, our memory is getting
talked about that today.
Yeah, our memory is getting shorter because you can just look it up. Everything's getting fucked up. So it's
this
like
level of instant gratification. Yeah, that's the thing. I hate instant gratification that we get through our cell phones. It burns bridges. Everywhere.
Because it also fucks up your self-esteem when you see someone who is crazy booming on Instagram, and it's crazy because there's people on there booming who are depressed because they see somebody else booming even more.
Exactly.
So it's like, I mean, to wrap it up, like Amauche said a second ago, is like when it comes to the way other people interact with you, like remember you're living in your own world. So at the end, I mean, please don't live in your own world to where you're like, oh, I can kill everybody, because, you know, like, nothing crazy like that. But when there's people bringing negativity towards you, like, you should not take it personally, because that really can affect your mental health.
And it's usually reflective of the person attacking you.
Yeah, whoever's attacking you.
They're just projecting.
Yeah, they're projecting. It's like, so if it's a bully, if it's someone else's negativity, remember that they have issues and that's why they're attacking you. And also, we mentioned in a past episode, you know, there's outlets that are a lot cheaper when it comes to talking to somebody, like Talkspace. So you guys look up Talkspace.com. I think that's a really cool avenue. Look at your health insurance, see if you can find a therapist that
is
affordable under your insurance, because you just have to look sometimes. You know,
and honestly, speaking of insurance, because I mess with this sometimes. So honestly, if you have insurance, a lot of times therapy is going to be affordable, especially if it's individual therapy, because it's just a matter of, the problem is a lot of people don't know to call member services. Call member services
for everything.
Yes. Call member services. Let them be the ones to tell you who is contracted with your insurance, because if you find a therapist and go to them, chances are they're not contracted. Chances are you're going to pay an arm and a leg just to sit there and blab for 30 minutes to an hour. But if you actually find someone who's contracted with your insurance, your copay will be more affordable. I was paying I think $10 a visit. I've heard some people say $20 a visit, and it may sound like a lot, but they really give you tools to work on. They really give you things to learn from.
Yeah.
And you might be like me, where I did 6 visits and I was good. I was Gucci.
Okay.
Like,
they just helped you organize.
I just needed
mind.
exactly. I just needed to unload and learn new coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
And once that happened, I was like, I don't need this. And you're not obligated. It's not like you sign your life away for 60 visits.
Yeah,
like,
it's up to you.
pay as you go.
Like a subscription.
Exactly. You pay as you go.
Yeah.
So.
And
they won't blow up your phone. I haven't received a call from a therapist since.
and if you don't mesh with your therapist up front, like, you can bounce around and find different therapists.
Just like you find a primary care doctor.
Yeah, find someone that you like. Like, if you don't like your therapist, don't go back to
You're not gonna go to a barber or hairstylist that fucked up your hair. You're not
or somebody who fucked up your eyebrows.
You ain't gonna do it. You gonna keep finding.
We both had someone fuck up our eyebrows and we're like, bitch,
I'm
this shit's
so
too
mad.
thin.
My shit was just booming and growing back, and this bitch, I told her, don't make them thin, just take a little off. This bitch even asked me, can I leave a little hair? I said yes. She left none.
Man. And if you guys have other like opinions when it comes to mental health or being
or
black
questions.
and, you know, anything like questions, comments, concerns, or we want to shout you out. We want to bring you into the discussion, and we do want to learn from you guys too. Make sure to email ashleyandninapod@gmail.com. ashleyandninapod@gmail.com. We'll list that in the description. Feel free to hit us up. We want to know what you guys think too, and we want to know if you agree with the points that we made also, because we definitely know that some people might really disagree with us.
And that's okay. It's okay to disagree.
Yeah, some people still think mental health is not a real thing.
Yeah, some people do think it's not a real thing, and like, you know, and to some extent, to a certain percentage of people, maybe it isn't, but to most of the world, it is. So fuck you. No, I'm just kidding.
Get with it or get lost.
I'm gonna be the vulgar one.
Yeah,
but
I usually am. I'm surprised.
Yeah, it's okay. If I pissed you guys off, I don't care. So let's wrap up. Yeah, let's
another successful episode.
Yes, we had Amauche in the studio.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes.
Even though we ain't in the studio, we in the stew.
We
in the mobile stew.
We in the mobile stew.
Turn up.
You see, we in here. We lit. So thank you guys for listening. Follow us on Instagram, YAGI_podcast. That is Yagi_podcast. Follow me, Nina, on Instagram, XNinaCX.
And follow me on Instagram, sitting_lotus, actually. Lotus has 1 T. I always spell it wrong.
Yes, and find us on Twitter, Yagi_podcast, YAGI_podcast. Find us on SoundCloud, which, I mean, you might be listening to it on SoundCloud right now, or you might be on iTunes because, you know, we lit, or any other podcaster, you know, like we
Stitcher
are.
App, if we ever decide to get on
We're going to do all of them.
Yeah,
because
we're going to be on there.
The cool thing about doing something like this is that you meet connections of people who have already become successful, and one person actually told me, like, go ahead and put it on all of them, and I was like, okay. And this came from a successful person, so we're going to listen to it because we're young and getting it. That's another thing. When successful people give you advice, take heed. Take heed. They probably know what the fuck they're talking about, especially if they're booming as fuck. Yeah. Also, soundcloud.com/WeAreYAGIP. We also have a website. What's the
www. Did I say it right? Right amount of W's this time? Mm-hmm. All right, www.weareYAGIP.com.
Yeah, we're lit. You know, hit us up. We're shouting y'all out. We're going to keep bringing back black people and people who are just in, you know, underserved communities, people who are booming. If you want to
hear from someone, let us know.
Yeah.
We'll see
people who are out here. We want to get people who are booming because we all were broke. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We had no money.
Poor.
Yep.
And so
taking out loans for school.
Yep.
So don't look at us now like, oh my God, she has a lot of Fashion Nova. She must have a lot of money. I mean, you know, we're paying student loans.
Yeah. You know,
we're paying student loans, car notes, you know, everything. So we're not that far off. Trust me, we just got money. Yep. Like, we got new money. We're some new money ass niggas.
We're Migos like a year ago.
Hey, I'm Offset.
Who's Quavo?
Who's my Cardi B? No, I'm just kidding. Who is Quavo?
Because is Quavo a hoe? I can't.
Quavo must be a hoe.
Can't put myself out there like
Quavo
that.
Gotta be a hoe.
Okay, no.
Don't because he was the first one to be like, turn your player's card in. I was like, so all y'all got player's cards, y'all fucking. Offset got a lot of kids.
I'm just their manager. That's who I'll be.
Yeah, there you go.
The behind the scenes bitch.
But all right, y'all. Thank you for listening. We're gonna be back next week, every week. Follow us online. Look at the description. Oh yeah, Amauche, where can they find you?
So you can find me on Instagram, which is untethered _ at the end, maybe 2. I can't remember. Or
we'll tag her.
Yeah, we're gonna tag her. You're gonna see her.
I'm also on Snapchat. It's UH_MOOCH_AYEE. I believe that's what it is.
Amauche. Get that shit right.
If it doesn't have if it's not that, then it doesn't have the underscores, and it's just Amauche.
And if you have any questions for Amauche, feel free to email us. Like, feel free to let us know. We're gonna follow up with y'all. Put your screen name in there. We'll shout you out, whether it's Twitter or Instagram. If you want to be anonymous, you can be anonymous too.
Oh, I'm on Twitter too. That's right.
She's on Twitter. Let her know.
Same thing, Amauche with the underscores.
Okay. And we'll post all of that below. Thank you guys for listening. We're young and motherfucking getting it.
Peace out.
Sorry for the language.
Nah, don't say sorry. We're adults here.
We're young and motherfucking getting it.